is Leanna Stutz Pryor, and today I want to talk to you about a few things that are pretty important that could help you become a better person, help you help other people, and also advice to help you to overall become a better person, and so you can also help other people and become a role model, a leader, overall just becoming a better person. So one of the things I want to talk about is understanding self and others. Sometimes we go through a lot of things in life and we feel very conflicted, meaning that sometimes we don't know what to do when a problem arises, and we don't know how to deal with those problems, and we don't know how to also maybe perhaps help other people who are dealing with those problems. So I want to help you guys to understand yourself and understand other people. The way that we can understand ourselves is by, if we feel like we're running into a wall and we feel like we don't know what to do, I want you to know that you can always talk to a teacher, your parents, a counselor, a speaker, someone like myself, and we are very more than happy to help you. Another thing is understanding others. It can be quite difficult to understand other people, especially when other people don't have the same agreements with you or the same outlook that you have. That can be quite complicated because it's something that may be hard for you to understand, and you guys both have a different outlook on the same thing. So for instance, if the same thing applies, if you feel like you're conflicted about something, and you feel like you don't understand somebody else, it's also okay to talk to an adult, talk to a teacher, talk to your parents or someone like myself, because we are able to mediate the situation or help you have a better understanding. Also, there are people who need further help, who may need to see a counselor maybe, or a therapist maybe, if you feel like you're having issues and you feel like you're facing depression, or you feel like you maybe want to harm yourself. There are people who care for you even if you feel like nobody cares. Everybody doesn't always deal with the same issues, so sometimes it's harder for people to understand something that they're not personally going through themselves. For instance, sometimes it's hard for people who are happy to understand people who face depression. People that want to harm themselves because they're suicidal and they feel the lack of love from others, or maybe they're battling something at home that we don't know anything about. And we want to try to be understanding of that. Because of people going through things that we don't understand, one way that we can deal with that is just simply trying to be understanding. You want to try to be understanding with other people's emotions. For instance, if one of your friends comes to school and they seem to be having a bad day and you don't know why, and maybe they refuse to talk to you about it for many reasons, maybe because they're afraid, or maybe because they feel too hurt or sad or depressed to talk about it, you might just want to just be a friend. Showing love and affection and empathy for others goes a long way. Sometimes people feel sad and they're depressed and they feel like self-harming themselves, but you could be that one person just to show that you care. You could be that one person to change their mind or their whole outlook on the situation that is putting them to self-harm themselves or to make them feel sad or depressed. For instance, you might have a friend that wants to kill themselves because they feel like they don't fit in with the other kids, and they feel sad because they may not look like the other kids, or they may not speak like the other kids, or they may not behave like the other kids. Maybe they may have a mental illness that causes them to act a certain way that is not like other people. And maybe that is out of their control, because a lot of mental illnesses are out of people's control. But the one thing that we can do is we can try to be understanding and try to show sympathy for other people. Maybe perhaps showing affection, giving your friend a hug, or just simply ask how their day is going, or offer help, offer an ear. Tell them that you are willing to listen and that you're there for them, and tell them, nice, kind words. Tell them things like, things will get better. If you need a friend, I'm here for you. And also you can tell them, if you don't want to talk to me, maybe I could get you help. Maybe I could get you someone like a counselor, or maybe the counselor can seek further help for you if a friend needs a therapist, maybe. And it really goes a long way, because it just shows that friend that they have someone that cares. And just that one simple act of kindness can show them, wow, someone really does care about me. Wow, I don't have to hurt myself, because now I know that there's someone in this world that cares about me. Another thing is, sometimes you're the one that's going through the problem, and sometimes you don't feel comfortable opening up to other people. What I want to say is that although you may not feel comfortable opening up to other people, opening up to someone that you trust, like a counselor or a therapist, or maybe your school teacher or parents, or maybe even your best friend. Your best friend could possibly get you help, because your best friend should care about you, and teachers care about you, your parents care about you, even therapists, people that you don't know, and strangers can care about you also and want the best for you and try to also get you help. So if you don't understand yourself, it's always a good idea to try to speak to someone that you feel comfortable with, and someone that you trust, someone that can listen to you and understand you, someone that will be kind to you. That really goes a long way. Just someone that listens to you can change your whole perspective, and not want to do harm to yourself, or not want to not live anymore. Make you smile, and make you just change your whole outlook on the world and the things around you. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was developing empathy and taking perspective of other people. One of the things is showing empathy, is showing compassion towards other people. You want to make sure that you're being sensitive towards other people, because everyone may not feel like you, or think like you, or have the same thoughts that you do, and they may not also handle the situations the same way that you do. Some people feel like, are more sensitive than other people. For instance, a situation that may occur, you may not feel the same as somebody else, and vice versa. Somebody else may not feel the same way as you do about a certain situation. For instance, if you see a cat getting ran over by a car, there are people who really love animals, and then there are people who really don't care for animals. You want to make sure that you're being empathizing and sympathetic towards other people's emotions, and try to look in their perspective, how they may feel about animals. You may not care so much about animals, but if another person sees a cat get ran over by a car, it could really hurt them, because there are people in this world who really love and care about animals. And sadly, just as much as there are people who really love and care for animals, there are also people that don't. But the most important thing is trying to be understanding why the person feels the way that they do, and also trying to be kind towards them and show that you care. That can also help the person to feel better, and it really does go a long way. Another thing I'd like to talk about is handling emotions. One of the best ways to handle emotions is by dealing with your emotions. Sometimes, and oftentimes, many of us are used to holding things in. We don't really like to talk about our problems, or maybe we feel like there's no one there for us, or we feel like nobody's going to listen to us, which is not true. It's always nice to seek help when we feel like we need it. And even if you're afraid to speak to someone, there is always going to be someone that cares and someone that's willing to help you deal with whatever it is that you may be battling or facing, whatever it is that you feel is constantly bothering you, that's constantly on your mind, or something that you simply feel like you just don't know how to deal with. So when it comes to dealing with and handling your emotions, you want to make sure that you're dealing with them the best way that you can, and that you're also dealing with them in a way that may not be harmful towards others. And what I mean by harmful towards others is because sometimes the way people deal with emotions can also be hurtful towards others. So for example, if you face depression, or if you feel sad, or if you're dealing with something in a bad way, and maybe, like, for instance, if you're battling depression and you feel suicidal, and you're harming yourself, for instance, if you're like cutting yourself, or if you're trying to kill yourself, maybe, you should think about the people that it will affect, because part of handling your emotions is how you deal with your emotions, how you go about handling the situation that is bothering you, or that's hurting you, or that's constantly on your mind. You want to make sure that you're trying to deal with the situation the best way that you can. And harming yourself or harming others is never the way to go, because there's always people, like I said, that are willing to help you, that are willing to listen to you, and there are people that care about you. If you do something to yourself, it's going to devastate and it's going to hurt those around you that care about you. For instance, if you hurt yourself, there are people like your parents, maybe your brothers or sisters, your friends, family, people that actually care about you. It will affect them. If you kill yourself, or think about killing yourself, or harming yourself, this will definitely affect those that love you and around you. So when you're handling your emotions, you want to make sure that you're thinking thoroughly all the way through about your actions and what you're going to do. You want to make sure that you're dealing with them the best way that you can, in a positive way and not a negative way, not a way that is going to hurt you and hurt other people, but rather instead a way that can help you and overcome that situation, help you to be a better person, help you to fix the problem. Sometimes you never know if your problem can be fixed if you're not talking to someone that you trust about it. A lot of counselors and therapists and parents and teachers, other people that you may trust, they are there to help you and can help you. Even a friend or someone, even a stranger maybe that you may trust, can can help give you great advice and also help you to not want to harm yourself. They can help you have a better understanding of your emotions and talk positivity into your life and help you think differently and help you to think more positively about your emotions or the circumstances, the challenges that you're facing, battling in life. There are many people around the world that can help you in all aspects of your life. There are counselors for people that are battling depression. There's counselors for and therapists for people that are victims of sexual abuse. There are counselors and therapists for victims of assault, counselors and victims for people who are suicidal, or that there's counselors for everything. So it is very important that you do seek the help to help you handle your emotions. And also, I want you to know that you're not alone. Handling your emotions, you don't have to deal with them alone. You can, like I said, talk to someone about your emotions. Let them handle your emotions with you. Let them help you handle your emotions with you. I'm someone that loves to talk to other people and listen to their problems. And oftentimes I find myself helping people who face depression, who are facing battles that behind closed doors that no one knows anything about. And it's always nice to have someone to talk to that you feel like you can trust. For example, the other day, I was on social media and I seen a friend of mine on Facebook, and nobody knew that my friend was going through a depression. And my friend made a post and said that they were going through depression and that they weren't eating or active for 10 whole days. They stayed in their room. They had no desire to talk to anyone, and because of this, they lost a tremendous amount of weight and they became dehydrated and almost sick. And nobody knew that my friend was going through this. And finally, when my friend felt a little bit better, they posted about it on social media. So I took it upon myself, because like myself and many others, we did not know that my friend was battling depression behind closed doors, and that my friend was going through, these things and not eating and not being active or participating in activities of daily living. So I took it upon myself to send my friend a private message, and I offered advice, and I said a lot of kind words, and I was there as a friend to help them to change their mind and their perspective on life, and it actually worked. And my friend actually said that they were very thankful that I sent them a message, because my words helped them have a better understanding and helped them feel a lot better about themselves. And now my friend is a lot more happier. And that's what I'm saying. So for someone that is facing something in life, that we don't know about, and if we find out about it, it's always nice to take the initiative to reach out to that person, whether you know them or not, because there are many people in this world that face depression or that are suicidal, or feel really down or low in life, and they don't have a desire to talk to anyone about it, or they feel nobody really cares. But the truth is, there's many people that really do care about you. So next time you see someone, or you observe something about someone that isn't okay, you want to make sure that you approach them nicely and say kind things to them to show that you care. And it's the same thing with yourself. If you feel like you're down or you're depressed, one way to handle your emotions is definitely by reaching out to someone that you trust, someone who's caring, who can give you advice, and who can make you feel better and have a different outlook on life. There are many of us that are willing to help. So, another thing that I'd like to talk to you all about is setting goals. So I'm pretty sure we're all aware that most of this year has been a little over the top due to the pandemic and the coronavirus that is going around, that's swept around the whole nation, let alone other countries and around the world. Something that we weren't expecting. So during that time, we had a lot of time to reevaluate things in our lives. It's like we had a standstill in our lives where we couldn't really go out as much. We were practically forced to stay indoors. And during that time would be a nice time to spend time with family, do things that are actually meaningful in life, things that are valuable, such as spending time with our family, our pets, maybe even close friends, maybe not in person due to the virus, but sending a call or a text message to check on other people. But also during that time was a very good time to set new goals. The reason setting goals is important is because it helps you to be a successful person. So for instance, I like to write things down. I like to make a to-do list. So one thing that I can tell you, a little advice, is if you write things down, you have a better chance of completing those things. I often find myself writing to-do lists, things that I'd like to accomplish, goals, or things that I need to do. And the reason why it helps is because a lot of times when we have things to do or set goals or things to accomplish, is when we think about it all, it tends to get really overwhelming. And it's too much to think about all at once. So one tactic that I use is writing down my goals. It's something so simple, but it's something that actually really helps. Because when you think about everything all at once, it's too much. But when you write things down on paper, you look at each thing you need to do, each goal, and you check it off one by one. Everything doesn't need to be completed or done at the same time. Things can be done day by day or month by month or even months by months, and furthermore, year by year. You might have a few different goals, like for example, you might have a paper that is due in one of your classes or an assignment that is due in one of your classes, but you might also have a ton of other things that you have to do. So what you do is you set the most important thing that you need to do at the top of the list. So if you have a paper that's due tomorrow, but you also need to go to the store to buy a new pair of shoes or something, I'm pretty sure we can guess which one is more important. Your homework is more important. So you want to make sure that you get your paper handed in first. So you might want to work on your paper. And then perhaps after you're done working on your paper, if you have time the same day, then you can go and get your new pair of shoes. Or you could wait till the next business day to get your new pair of shoes. Always want to make sure that you do the important things first before the things that are not so important. Things that are needs are the more important things versus the things that are wants. So, another reason setting goals is important, like I said, it's to help you become successful. So maybe going to college is a really big goal. College is to prepare you not only for the real world, but also to prepare you for a career. It is to help you become a successful person. And then, of course, when you set goals, there are steps that come before that goal to help you accomplish that goal. So, for example, if you want to go to college, you must complete elementary school, you must complete middle school, and you must complete high school to make it to college. And also, you don't just have to complete elementary, middle, and high school, but you also want to make sure that you have good grades. good grades are very important. It's going to help you not only graduate high school, but it will help you get into a very good college and have a very, very good chance and a high chance to pursue the career that you wish to pursue. So, for example, if you want to go to college to be a doctor, you must have good grades to become a doctor. You want to make sure that you're submitting all of your work. Not just submitting all of your work, but you want to make sure that you're coming to class every day, unless you're sick, of course. Then you also want to make sure you bring a doctor's note if you are sick. You don't want to go and get other people sick, so that is an excuse. Outside of that, you want to make sure that you are going to school every single day unless an emergency comes up or if you're sick. So showing up to school, not just showing up to school, but you also want to make sure that you're not tardy. You want to make sure that you are on time. When you go to work and when you go to college and you're prepared for the real world after you graduate school and college and you're in your career, it prepares you to be on time for your job. Because when you don't do the right thing, consequences come behind. So if you show up late for work, or if you don't show up for work, the consequences become that you become suspended or that you become fired. And it's the same thing with school. You want to make sure that you're coming to school every day on time and that you're coming to school every day. The consequences for not showing up on time can lead to maybe a detention, and detentions aren't good. And then you also want to make sure you're not missing so many days of school, because then your parents get a fine in the mail, and that's just not something you want on your record. So it's the same thing for your goals. When you go to college, you want to make sure that you're doing all your work. You want to make sure that you're coming to school on time, and you want to make sure that you're not missing any days of school. That will help you to also accomplish your goal and become a successful person. And like I said, after you graduate college and you become a doctor, you can't be late all the time. You can't miss days of work all the time, because then you'll end up getting fired, and everything you worked so hard for can go out the door. And that's something that none of us want. We want to set an example. We want to help other people. We want to be successful. We want to accomplish our goals, and we want to accomplish them the right way, as best as we can, as much as possible. Another thing is that if you see maybe a friend of yours who's struggling with trying to figure out what they want to do, you can also help influence them to set good goals. Perhaps maybe you know that your friend is good at playing basketball. So maybe you can also talk to your friend and help encourage your friend and tell them how great they are at playing basketball, and tell them that they can, if they go to school and they get good grades and they do their work, they can get a scholarship. And so can you, by continuing to get good grades and submitting all of your work on time. You could get a scholarship and not have to pay for college. You could get grants and not have to pay for college. And college is very expensive. So yes, we would love to have a scholarship to pay for college. Doesn't that sound amazing? I know it sounds amazing, because college is very expensive and it costs thousands of dollars. So not only are you thinking about yourself and setting goals, but you're also doing even something more better. You're helping your friends to become successful. You're helping persuade your friends to want to do something that they know that they're good at. Sometimes they need someone to talk to them, to help them figure out what they want to do. Sometimes they feel confused and they don't know what they want to do or what they want to become in life. And that's where you come in, because we know our best friends and we know perhaps what they're really good at. So I know my best friend, she's into makeup and she loves dressing up, but she didn't know what she wanted to be. And so I told her that she was really beautiful, of course, and I told her that she could become a model if she wanted to Furthermore, my friend loved money and she loved business. So I told her, hey, why not go and be a realtor since you love business and you love money? You can make commission from that. You can make a lot of money from that. And you get to mix up your fashion and beauty with your real estate business because you get to be all dressed up and you get to look professional and you look presentable for the people that are looking into buying houses. And that's what she ended up doing. She didn't know what she was really good at, and I tried to help her, and it worked. So you never know that you can help your friend just by encouraging them and taking notice of what they may be good at. Sometimes they feel lost, and all it takes is just one person to tell them, hey, you really are good at this. And maybe your friend never really thought about it, but because of your kindness and your outlook on their life, it could have helped make them make a good choice, and it could help them go to college to be that basketball player and get a scholarship and even make it to the National Basketball Association. And next thing you know, how cool would it be to see your friend playing professional basketball on TV? And the greatest part is I'm sure your friend will give you free tickets to their game. How cool is that? I know I love basketball and I wouldn't mind free tickets. So yeah, it's not just about you. You can also help other people to set goals as well. Last but not least, one of the biggest things I wanted to talk about was dealing with obstacles. If anyone knows about dealing with obstacles, it's me. So here's a little story about myself. I am a 3-time cancer survivor and transplant survivor. I had 3 of the most aggressive cancers. When I was 23 going on 24, I found out I had 2 cancers. I had leukemia and I had lymphoma. It was spread throughout my entire body from head to toe. Furthermore, when I went to the doctors, to the specialists, they didn't tell me everything over the phone. So they told me everything in person. And I was there at the health campus with my support system. And what the doctor told me was that not only did I have leukemia and lymphoma, and not only was it spread throughout my entire body, but they told me they didn't know if I was going to make it past 24 hours and that I was in stage 4. And for me, my life flashed before my very own eyes. And at that moment, that's when I really thought about what was truly important to me in my life. And I valued the most important thing. And it wasn't things that are materialistic. It was things such as my child that I have that was 3 going on 4 years old at the time. It was my family, my parents, my brother. It was the most important thing to me. I didn't think about anything else. And so after I found out I had the first 2 cancers, they told me that they had a very important decision to make, that they wanted to send me to a specialized cancer institute if I wanted any chance to survive. They told me that they wanted to send me to the cancer institute that same evening, but because my cancers were so aggressive and they didn't know if I was going to make it, they wanted to send me to the cancer institute the following day, early morning. The doctor told me that her and her colleagues decided it would be best if I went home and spent that last night with my family, packed my bags, and said goodbye to my loved ones. I bet you can imagine how I felt at that very moment a few years ago. And so at that moment, I knew I had a choice to make, and that choice was to not give up, to keep on pushing, no matter how hard things got for me. The worst part about it all is that I had no control over the cancers in my body. But what I did have control over was the way I was able to deal with one of the worst things that have ever happened to me in my life. Something that I never imagined that was going to happen to me. I was healthy my entire life and never thought that I would wake up one day and find out I had cancer. Cancer runs through my father's side of the family. And although it runs through my father's side of the family, I never imagined in a million years that it would happen to me, because it can happen to anyone. But how I chose to deal with what I was going to face was the biggest thing to me. And I chose to be positive. I chose to be happy. I chose to fight no matter what I was going through. And furthermore, after 9 months, I finally went in remission. They were able to get rid of all the cancer cells. And 4 months later, I lost my vision in my right eye. When I woke up that morning, I couldn't see. And I called my doctor's assistant, and my doctor's assistant told me that my doctor would be calling me shortly. My doctor called me within an hour, and he said I needed to come back to the hospital right away. And when I came in, they did some tests. And the reason I lost my vision in my right eye is because I found out I had cancer again. And this time, I had cancer in my brain. I had brain cancer. I found out I had brain cancer after I beat 2 of the most aggressive cancers, leukemia and lymphoma. And when I thought it was all over, I found out I was going to have to fight for my life again. And I didn't even know what was going to happen. But what I did know was that I was going to fight my best, and I was going to stay positive no matter what. And then, to make matters worse, I had to get brain surgery, and I had to get a tube put in my brain, and then I also had to get a few eye surgeries. And because of the cancer, my doctor told me that this cancer was starting to spread throughout my entire body as well, and that there were no more options for me, and that I only had 3 choices at this moment for my life. And the first choice was I could continue the chemotherapy, but it would only help a little longer, live a little longer. The second option was I could stop the chemo and let the cancer take its course and pass away. And then the third option was if I chose to continue chemotherapy, by chance, if they were able to get the cancer cells out of my body for 60 days, I could qualify to get a bone marrow stem cell transplant. And at that very moment, I knew I had nothing to lose. So I chose to continue the chemotherapy. What happened was my body became used to the chemotherapy and the medications that they were giving me, that my body was no longer really accepting the medications or the chemo. It wasn't really working for me anymore. So I came down to these last 3 options, and I chose to still be positive, and I chose to fight. And that's what I did. And I got my brain surgery. I got surgery on my eyes. And 1 month after I began chemotherapy again, I got a test done. And when I got the results, my cancer doctor told me that the cancer was starting to spread throughout my entire body again, to all different parts of my body. And at that moment, I told my cancer doctor, I still want to continue the chemotherapy. I still am going to fight, and I'm still going to put a smile on my face. And I chose to be happy, and I chose to be positive, and I did that. And then another month went by. So 2 months later, I got another test done, and I got my results back. And to my surprise, the results came back that all the cancer cells were gone, and I was able to get a stem cell transplant. And that made me very happy. And I did. I got my transplant. And here I am a few years later. It was the perspective that I had on my life. And I believe that's one of the reasons that I'm still here today, because I chose to be positive. I chose to keep on fighting, no matter how tough things got for me, no matter having leukemia, no matter having lymphoma, no matter having brain cancer, no matter having to get a stem cell transplant. and all the surgeries that I had to get in between. Having to fight is what I was going to do, regardless of my circumstances. It was one of the best decisions I made in my life. I persevered through all of my trials, all of my obstacles, all of the things that I could have easily given up on. So if I could fight through one of the worst things in the world, you can fight too. You can choose to be happy. You can choose to accomplish your goals. You can choose to be successful. You can choose to keep pushing forward. I did it, and so can you. Thank you. I'm Leanna Stutz Pryor.